In the Gospel of John, Jesus tells us that he is the Good Shepherd. Those that came before him were thieves and robbers. I suppose that would be the religious leaders. You know, he talks about in the Old Testament how they would scatter the sheep instead of gathering the sheep. But Jesus is the Good Shepherd. And he says that a hireling will run or flee if trouble comes, because the sheep are not his own, and they'll flee. Now, a hireling, not necessarily someone that you would not have work with you as the shepherd, possibly, but they're not the shepherd. And they really, when things get hard, or trouble comes, like when King David was a shepherd as a young boy, he fought a bear and a lion. See, a shepherd cares for the sheep. And, you know, the story Jesus told of the 99 and one who was lost, and the shepherd went to find that one. See, a shepherd cares for the sheep. And Jesus is the Good Shepherd. If you have been born again, you are a new creation, and you are sealed with the Holy Spirit of God. And Jesus is the ultimate shepherd. But from the standpoint of Jesus' story, you know, the sheep and the shepherd, all over those lands, there were sheep and there were shepherds. And I guess unfortunately, you know, if you had the hireling who was acting as a shepherd, you know, they weren't the shepherd. And you had to be aware of that. If someone was a hireling, someone who was there for the pay, you couldn't count on them to be there to do maybe a hard time or a rough time, because they're not a shepherd. And maybe they serve a purpose, of course. I imagine they did. Of course, a hireling might be with you a while, might go somewhere else, you know, and then somewhere else and so forth, because the sheep were not their own, and they didn't care for the sheep like a shepherd. Again, maybe no attachment. You know, they didn't form attachments which would tend to be bonds that would be, you know, lasting and lingering, because they were hireling. Now, in our day and time, I'm afraid that's what we see a lot of. Not necessarily bad in one way. Maybe they do serve a purpose, but they're not really shepherds. They sort of come and go. And shepherds are very rare. And I guess that's just the nature of the beast, as you might would say. It's just the way things are. You won't have many shepherds. You have a lot of hirelings who serve a purpose, who maybe, you know, do a job, but then they go on. No attachment to the sheep. No real care for the sheep. The sheep are not their own. They go from one to the other. And, you know, that's sad that there are so few shepherds. But, sometimes that's the way things are.